topic is trust. And we're going to talk about how shifting our notion of trust to um, that everything is trusting the universe to that everything is working out exactly as intended can shift our whole experience of being on a very profound and deep level. But before we get started, let's just take a minute to get settled in and present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, and nourishing all your cells and all your organs. And as you exhale, exhale any tension, any negativity, any toxins. And let's take another deep breath in through your nose. This time, imagine sparkling white light lighting you up from the inside out, electrifying all your molecules and all your electrons, and just energizing and brightening you from the inside out and connecting you with the world beyond. As you exhale, exhale any remaining stress or tension or negativity. And now let's just gently press our palms together, softly, softly, softly. Rub your fingers against your palms and feel how wonderful that sensation is and how amazing it is to be present in this physical body right here, right now. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So glad to have you here with me this morning. And good morning, Rosalind. Great to see you here. And welcome to everyone else. Maggie's happy to be here with us today. And we're talking about trust. And when so much is happening in the world that we can respond to with anxiety or tension or fear, um, or anger or any number of things. And uh, what I have found is a profound comfort to me is to be operating from the notion that everything is unfolding in its perfection, and to trust that life is happening for me and through me rather than to me. So we keep coming back to this concept again and again, but I think it's so profoundly valuable and important because when we can find that place of trust, we can we sort of are operating under the assumption that even if things look terrible, there's a positive aspect to it that we can possibly discover, and that it enables us to relax ourselves to experience a greater sense of ease. And therefore, when we have a greater sense of ease, we have less resistance. And when we have less resistance, then we have the ability to be more responsive. And when I say responsive, I mean the ability to respond. So response ability to respond to the needs of the moment in a way that is not driven from reactivity and fear. And so I maybe I should have titled today's topic resistance, because I notice how resistance comes into play in my life, in so many people's lives, on a very regular basis, where it kind of makes itself known almost from nowhere, where it's so subtle and it's so natural. Good morning, Dido. Welcome, welcome. We're talking about trust and resistance, and the resistance comes to wanting things to be different from the way they are. And when we nourish and nurture this notion of trust that things are unfolding in the perfect in alignment with the way that they quote unquote should be unfolding, then the resistance relaxes. And what I notice in myself, and it's subtle. It's subtle. Like resistance can manifest itself as tension in my shoulders, and or tension in my neck or my jaw, for instance. And resistance can also manifest itself in tiredness or pushing through tiredness. It's resisting the emotions that we have, resisting the thoughts that we have, rather than allowing the thoughts to just go. So maybe the flip side of resistance perhaps is allowing, where we allow things to unfold as they unfold. It doesn't mean not taking action, because we can have an impulse to take action. We can have an impulse moving from the heart of clarity and direction, and then we can resist that because we have all these ideas that tell us that it's not a practical notion. Or I'm not saying to be foolish. I am saying that as we find a place of trust internally, trusting the universe, trusting life to unfold for us, then we're more open to possibilities that may present themselves. At least that's my experience. When there are things that I have on my schedule and commitments, etc., I can resist those and say I don't want to do them, or I can just move with the call of the moment and do them, or I can choose to cancel them too. I mean, there are a multitude of choices, but um, as we cultivate this this inner sense of trust, I experience that the anxiety that I might have falls away. So I can talk about it right now in a personal way. So I have a coaching program. My next coaching cohort opens in February. And if you're interested in the work that I do, you can go to the website yourcoreconnection.com. Check it out if you're interested. If you look at the page that's called The Work, and you find that it calls to you, please reach out to me on Messenger through Facebook, and we can schedule we can have a conversation, schedule a complimentary session for you so that you have an experience of the profundity of the work. But anyway, so I have an intention of having a certain number of people in my upcoming cohort. And so I'm in a recruiting process, and I do these sessions with people, and then some people choose to move forward with the program and it's a good fit. And so we agree that that works. And some people choose not to at this time. And what in the past, the way that I would have interacted with this process and this circumstance of enrollment and building out the cohort would be with a sense of anxiety. And so every now and then that sense of anxiety arises again. And what I am allowing myself to do is to recognize that that sense of anxiety is a resistance to the trust, or is in conflict with the trust of allowing life to unfold, like trusting the process. And Maggie, you're being very entertaining this morning. Yes, you are. Um, so when I experience a moment of anxiety, it's a reminder to me to allow myself to become present and not resist life as it's unfolding. Because if it's unfolding for me and through me, then it's happening in its perfection. Exactly the right people will be part of this program, and I don't need to stress over it because it's already done. It's already happening in the way that it was meant to happen. And what I'm saying resonating for you? Can you see a circumstance in your life where you can apply this this kind of perception? Um, does, can you feel into it where, you know, maybe there are stories that you're telling yourself that are negative stories about how things in your life might unfold, that if you allowed yourself to truly entertain and internalize the experience of that it's perfect and that it's unfolding perfectly, that then you can take a deep breath, then you can relax your shoulders, then you can just sort of um, find a greater ease about an adventure, the adventure of life unfolding, and finding some level of security for yourself in the evolution of it, in the not knowing about it. You know, rather than making up negative stories so that you can feed your need to know, you can instead allow yourself to just be present to whatever opportunities open. Like, because for instance, last night I went out to dinner with an old friend, and an opportunity for a new potential client opened up out of it too. So, you know, you never know what's around the corner. And when we have a greater ease, there's an openness and an ability to receive, a receptivity that is not there when we're blocked off and anxious and nervous and fearful, where that is sort of a closing of doors, where and the trust is kind of an opening, and an opening of the heart. So yeah, I think that Rosalind says I can maybe apply this to spirituality that is unfolding for me, and trust in the process rather than trying to control. And Melody, hi Melody, welcome. Melody says, I'm going for surgery next Wednesday and I'm having a lot go through my head. And well, I can understand that. So here's the thing about the things that go through our heads, Melody. I think culturally, we're kind of conditioned to catastrophize and to think of the worst case scenario. And then once we've thought of the worst case scenario and made provisions for the worst case scenario, or else have become terrified about the worst case scenario, then we believe ourselves to be realists. And this is not the truth. The truth is, Maggie, thank you. No, the truth is that we're making up those stories. We're making up those stories, whether they're negative or positive. And sometimes it helps to make up positive stories, you know, and whether this notion of trusting that that life is happening for me and through me, and trusting that things are unfolding exactly as they should, or were meant to, um, if that can give us a greater, then we're in a better position. Like, when we're anxious, our body has all kinds of stress chemicals in it, right? And those stress chemicals make it harder for us to recover from things. And when we're stressed, it exhausts our adrenal system. And so if you can find yourself, if you're noticing, Melody, these stories that are going through your head, these things that you're telling yourself, you can deliberately, actively create positive stories. Like for every negative story that you create for yourself, you can create 3 positive stories that you can feel into. Allow yourself to do this in a deliberate way so that you can recognize that it's all made up. And the trust part, that may be made up too. But what happens is when you can really align yourself with it, then it brings ease to your body. It brings ease to your mind and to your spirit and to your physiology. And so the chemistry set that is going on and running through your body is a more powerful one for healing, for health, for resilience. Does this make any sense, Melody? Can you connect with it? Because I think our tendency, as I said, is to look on the dark side, or to be fearful, or to um, catastrophize. In other words, think of all the things that can go wrong rather than all the things that could go right. And there is no more realism in thinking about all the things that can go wrong than all the things that can go right. So you could do both if that works better for you. But if you can find a place within yourself to know that things are going to work out as they were meant to, and that life is happening for you and through you, perhaps that might give you greater ease. And Rosalind says, rather than trying to control the narrative as related to spirituality that's unfolding for her, for you, Rosalind. So yeah, the truth that one of my truths is that our control is really pretty much an illusion. And we do all kinds of things to nourish and nurture the illusion of control. And what's at the heart of that is trying to feel safe. And really, this conversation actually derived from consideration of what safety is, and how we go to so many lengths to feel safe. So even the catastrophizing and creating all of our contingency plans, the intention that's driving that is an intention toward achieving safety, or the illusion of control, which is when we feel in control, then there is more of an experience of safety. So I hope that this is connecting for you, that it's making some sense, that there's some resonance for you. The feeling of lack of safety is also an internal experience. That's not to say that there aren't things that are physical threats externally. However, when we have this sense of internal trust, then we also, I believe, have a greater capacity to discern. We have a greater um, sense of discernment because we're present. We're not reactive. We're not blinding ourselves to the possibilities of what's there. So if there is an imminent threat, then we get to remove ourselves perhaps from that, or respond rather than react to it. In the reactivity, we often can make really poor choices. So Melody says, yes, fear of the unknown. Thank you. I will do that. Yes. So fear of the unknown is something that drives so many of us to create these terrible, terrible scenarios. And the unfortunate thing is that we don't spend that much time and effort on creating positive scenarios, which are typically equally as valid. Now, obviously, if you're going to go jump off a cliff, there aren't a whole lot of positive scenarios. I mean, I guess if you're jumping off a cliff into the water and there's no obstruction in between, then maybe there is a positive scenario to be had. But typically there are certain things that are going to be dangerous. However, if we have this sense of internal safety, we can assess that situation and say maybe not the best choice, right? And so let's recognize the mechanics of our fear and our resistance. And sometimes we can look at our resistance as a clue to perhaps making a better choice. It's like if I make a commitment to do something and I have huge resistance to fulfilling that commitment, I can look at what is that resistance. Is the resistance coming out of fear? Is the resistance coming out of another need that I have to be fulfilling for in a different way? What what is the nature of that resistance? Is it because I don't feel safe? Well, if it is because I don't feel safe, there may be legitimate reasons for that, and we get to look at that. If we have that internal integration within ourselves, that I believe this notion of trusting that things are unfolding in the way that they're meant to, if we have that internal integrity, like I said, I think it gives us the capacity to breed greater discernment and response ability, the ability to respond to our needs and the needs of the moment. So, Melody, everybody here, let's just send you some tremendous love and light, and see you coming through the surgery healthy and well and with ease and gentle recovery. And um, I think that as you as you allow yourself to be at peace with the unfolding of the process, even if you have pain, for instance, in the recovery, then not resisting the pain will let the pain leave more quickly, will let it not be a source of suffering. So, thank you, Rosalind. Rosalind says, gentle recovery to you, Melody. Exactly. And one of the things that I know is that when I've experienced physical pain, resisting that pain perpetuates it. And I think that we can see this in life in general in a lot of ways. Resisting things perpetuates the experience of them. And so when I've allowed myself to actually feel the physical pain, then it tends to move. And so when sometimes I have shooting nerve pain, and I actually have an internal conversation with myself to say, I feel you, and to put my attention there. And it's remarkable how it tends to move. And even if it doesn't move immediately, it still tends to release and disperse, which is really, really quite remarkable and probably counterintuitive, because usually when we have pain, we want it to just go away. So Melody says, there's positive to this surgery. I will be able to eat again, maybe not quite like I used to, but the chance of esophageal cancer will be a lot less. So this is perhaps this surgery, Melody, is a vehicle to a whole new lease on life for you, it sounds like. And that's a profound gift. And if you can allow yourself to embrace this as a gift, the likelihood of your healing more quickly and more fully, I believe, and this is my hypothesis, don't take it as truth, but I believe that it will help you to heal more quickly, rather than going into that surgery fearful, to be looking at the gift that it is going to be giving you to be able to have a more normal life, and where you'll be able to eat again. What a gift. And my dad at one point was on a feeding tube, and it was a nightmare for him. It was like the last thing that he enjoyed in life was to be able to enjoy some foods or beverages, and to be able to eat is such a gift that many of us don't even recognize or acknowledge. And so there's a new perspective on life, and its gifts that's available to you, Melody, perhaps. So I have an appointment with a client in a couple minutes, so I'm going to say thank you all for being here. Melody, you have our prayers and our love. And I want to thank you all for being with me here today, and whenever else you join us. It's wonderful to be communicating together. And I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection. And I go live each weekday morning on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and at 9 a.m. Eastern. And until next time, check out the wonderful community on Enlightened World Network, and I really, truly hope to see you again here soon. Much, much love.